Welcome back to another Extra Time Football video. And what can I say right now? I am left speechless by this Mexico performance. Hell of a show. Hell of a game that they played out there from start to finish. Uh, I don't, it's so hard to single anybody out because everybody played a great part today. Like the weakest one in my eyes was again Luis Romo. But even him, he still played a big part in that first goal. He retained the ball up well and put the assist over to Mateo Chavez. What a game by Mexico. What a dominant win. 3-0. This game needed that third goal in the end, and I'm glad that they got it. I'm glad it was by Fidalgo. But let's get into the game and go over exactly how it was. The first half, Mexico seemed like the better team. They were the ones trying to impose more of their game. They were trying to go on the offensive. The Czechs were doing their part playing defensive. For my liking, they were sitting back too much in the first half for a team that needed a result. For a team that needed to go out and win, they just were sitting in the back way too much. And their overall game is what ended up being the death of them. They tried to play for, the dead ball, for the crosses in, for the long throw-ins, but none of that was working. And you know why? One name, Cesar Montes. There wasn't a ball that went through to Cesar's way that he did not win. My man was dominant in the air. These Czechian players, they just could not win anything through the air with him inside of the box. Him and Edson Alvarez. Edson Alvarez played his part in there too, but it was mostly all Cesar. Like, I just feel like every cross that went in, Cesar's head was on the end of it, just getting that cross out of there. The Czechs, they tried to push a little bit towards the end of the first half, but they couldn't get things going. And another thing I want to highlight with this game that was really annoying me and just was frustrating to see. Anytime you touch these Czechian players, they would fall down. Everything was a foul on them, and everything was getting called. Even if it was pure ball, there was a slide that Memote did that he won the ball well, and it was nothing but ball, and the ref gives it as a foul. The ref looked like to be way too one-sided this game. I'm not just saying this as a Mexico supporter, as a fan. If I'm looking at this objectively, there were too many plays where the Mexican players were stealing it well, and they were being called as fouls. And then when that same type of play was being done on them, it just wasn't called. But it is what it is. I could tell that lit a fire in Vasco. And that probably made him light a fire under the team for the second half. The way they came out, just dominant from start to finish in the second half again. I want to highlight Gilberto Mora's game. 17 years old on this kid, and the pressure and the game was not too big for him. He lived to the occasion. He wasn't scared to get the ball. He wasn't scared to take on the defenders. He wasn't scared to make things happen. And boy, was he making things happen. He had a pass. I don't remember if it was in the first or in the second half, but a through ball that he sends over to Luis Romo that I believe he should have put away. He should have struck that the way it was coming to him, but he decides to cross it in. And for my liking, he just didn't raise his head up. You could tell that he just blindly sent that cross in, not knowing who it was going to. He should have struck that, and he should have put that in the back of the net. But what a way from Gilberto Mora to find him with that through ball. Gilberto Mora was making things happen throughout this whole game. That first goal, I'll come back to Gilberto Mora's performance again, but that first goal, I want to highlight also El Memote. I wasn't a fan of El Memote starting. I would have loved to either see Chaquito or La Hormiga. I would have rather liked to see them get the start if it wasn't going to be Raul. But man, did he shut me up this game. He retained the ball well. He won every aerial duel as well that came his way. He was crucial in that first goal. He plays a defensive slide in the backside of in Mexico's own field. He wins the ball, sends it. That ball comes back to Luis Romo. I wasn't a fan of his game today, but what a way from Luis Romo to really sustain the ball, to dominate possession and stick with it. He retained possession in a ball that I thought was, a good 50-50 he was probably going to lose. What a way to put a through ball to Mateo Chavez. Mateo Chavez, one thing I liked about him from that goal, he did not fall down, and he was not afraid to go in that 1v1. Most players, when the defender slides like that, they'll take the easy one and just go for the dive if they think they can't get to it, or they're just too nervous to finish it on the other end. Not Mateo Chavez. Mateo Chavez kept running, was composed and poised against the keeper one-on-one, puts that away. Great way to go up 1-0 in the game. Gets Mexico on the score sheet, and I feel like at this point, one or two goals should have already been had from Mexico. But what a way to get the Azteca roaring and jumping again. The crowd played their part. After this first goal comes in, the Republic of Czech players, they were doing their part to play their game, I guess, defensively, which is still odd to me because they needed a result. But once this goal comes in, they they crumble completely. You could tell right away. They make a pass to one of their back defenders. They pass it back, and it goes for a throw in for Mexico on their side. They lost their concentration. The altitude of the Azteca really affected them. The Czechs did not show up to play today. They were trying to do their part, but Mexico dominated. They dominated them. They dominated the group. 3 wins, 9 points. First time ever that Mexico wins a group by winning all three group games. Part of me wants to start getting excited, and the hype is there for that we can make a deep run. But I've seen this story too many times before, where we do great in the group stages. Yeah, maybe this group stages they didn't play the best in every single game. This by far was the best one, but I don't want to get ahead of myself and see Mexico going deep until I've been hurt too much before in the past. Going back to the performance of these players, Quiñones and Piojo Alvarado, workhorses, man. Both of these guys do not stop running, both on the offensive or defensive. They were tracking back. They were attacking when needed to. They were putting in the shift on both sides. El Piojo Alvarado has been one of my favorite players of this World Cup. The man just does not stop running. It's like he has like 20 lungs or something. He just doesn't get tired. Every single player today, with the exception of Romo, but I'm not going to bash him too much because he still was fundamental in getting that first goal for Mexico. But every player today played their part and they did great. Quiñones nonstop on that left wing, making things happen. Got his goal, being persistent. Mateo Chavez got his goal too, but amazing defensive game too, not letting anything happen on that left wing. Israel Reyes, even though he's not the tallest, played a hell of a defensive game. Cesar Montes, there wasn't a ball that he didn't win of a cross from the Czechians in. No ball was getting sent in that he wasn't getting on the other end of. Same with Edson, also getting a few crosses that he cut off. But Edson in midfield played a hell of a defensive game. He was breaking up play. He was getting things going from the Mexico side, getting the ball to Gilberto Mora and starting the attack. Edson Alvarez was the perfect pivot right there. In the number 5 role, he played his part. And one player I'm going to give his flowers to that I was very critical of being on the national team for the World Cup. The only player that I was really frustrated with coming, Jorge Sanchez. Man cannot cross a ball to save his life. He cannot attack that well. But boy, has he shut me up these last 2 games. Hell of a performance defensively against the South Koreans and against the Czech players. He does not stop running. And you know what? That second goal that Julian Quiñones gets, great through ball from Gilberto Mora to Jorge Sanchez. Great perseverance from Jorge Sanchez to keep going after that ball. Most players, they see that ball get a little bit too ahead of them or too far, they'll stop running. Jorge Sanchez did not. He was persistent after that ball. He went after it. He affected that the keeper send it through to the, keep going back. And then the defender, even when the defender tries to clears it off Jorge Sanchez, fortunately rebounding back to Quiñones, who gets his second goal for Mexico in this World Cup. I want the hate to stop. Anybody calling him that, saying he's not a Mexican, this man has put it all on for the shirt more than other Mexicans that have been actually born in Mexico have done in either the World Cup or at any stage playing for the national team. This man is giving it all this tournament. These 3 games, he's been one of the top 3 players on the national team. And, he's more Mexican than most others right there. Quiñones is a workhorse. He's an offensive threat. I saw him with America. I saw him with Atlas. This man comes to life in the biggest stage, in the biggest moments. He might have not scored the most league goals, but when the Liguilla started, he was there bagging them in and getting, he played a crucial part in getting goals in the finals to win championships. He might not have scored the most goals for Mexico coming into the World Cup, but he already has 2 in the World Cup, and he's playing a crucial part in Mexico's offensive game right there. Quiñones is a mainstay. Alvaro Fidalgo came on. There wasn't much for him to do. The game was already sealed when he came on. But what a way for him to get the third goal right there, and his first goal with the national team. You could see the tears in his eyes. The tears wanted to start. As an America fan, it brings me joy to see Alvaro Fidalgo playing at the Azteca again. Not just that, but getting a goal at the Azteca. Celebrating in his home stadium, the stadium that saw him be what he is in Mexico. El Maguito, another type of world-class player right there. Yeah, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating a bit world-class, but in my eyes, they're all world-class right here. Last one I want to touch on, Memo Ochoa. Memo Ochoa got his send-off goodbye. A lot of people are saying that the World Cup is not for homage, is not to pay homage to these players. Memo Ochoa, whatever your thoughts are on that, he got it. Respect to him. 6 World Cups that he's going to. Yeah, it's only his 4th one that he's played on technically, because he did come on for a few minutes. And, he wasn't active playing in all the other ones. But what a historic career for him. to me, Mexico's greatest all-time keeper. Yeah, you can have your Jorge Campos, and other ones that have been in the past, your Osvaldo Sanchez, but Memo Ochoa, what he did for Mexican soccer, for Mexican football right there, will never be matched by another keeper. At least not that I see coming further on. I would like to be proven wrong on that. I really like Tala Rangel and what he's done. I really like Luis Malagon, but I just don't see them, because of their age, having that longevity with the national team as Ochoa did. So respect to Ochoa, one of the greatest Mexico players of all time. And I know this is probably the last game he's going to play before retiring. I don't see him getting on the field again unless something really bad happens to Tala. But what a way to go out. In your home stadium, the stadium that saw you start your career at the Azteca. No other place better to end it than there. Overall, great performance by Mexico. No show from the Czech players. My thoughts go to Suchek, who did suffer a really bad injury there at the end. I do pray that he's okay. God willing, he will be doing good in the end, and he'll recover back from that injury. But hell of a performance, hell of a win. What a way to start the World Cup group stage phase, winning all 3 games, keeping a clean sheet in all 3 games too, which is even more important. Something I don't feel I have ever seen in my lifetime of watching the World Cup with Mexico. But I don't want to get ahead of myself and, get too hyped up, but I'm starting to. The hype is real now. Let's see what the knockout stages have for us. If you did enjoy the video, I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe, as it does mean a lot to the channel. Hopefully I get to catch you again soon on the next one.